Hello again, Roy.RealEstate here with Coldwell Banker Legacy in San Angelo. Today I want to talk to you a little about wind turbines. Now my family just went through a negotiation on some wind turbines on some property we own and thought this might be of interest to other people. So one of the big things to understand if you get into this is this is fairly new law, so make sure you get an attorney involved who can really help you with a lot of these things, because there's a lot of issues in here, and if you get someone that doesn't know what they're doing, even they be a great attorney in another area, but if they don't have the experience in this area, it can really hurt what they're able to do for you. So, and you can get in a long-term contract that is not in your best interest. So that's the first thing you need to know. So one of the things you got to think about when someone approaches you about putting wind turbines, and it's going to vary a lot depending on the size of your property. But you got to think about first, do you want to be the first one? If there's turbines all around you, then putting them up on your property is a lot different situation than if you're going to be the first one out there. Because I'll tell you that people have very strong views about these wind turbines on their neighbor's property and then their property. There's people that think they're the most evil thing out there, and there's some legitimate points in what they say. I mean, there's the effects on wildlife, just the noise they make, the flashing red lights at night. I mean, they are an annoyance in certain ways, but they're also, because of the green energy they supposedly produce and all these things, there's something that's going to continue to happen. So if you're already surrounded by them, it's a lot different issue than if you're the first one. So that's something you want to think about very carefully. Another thing to think about it, and kind of in that same vein, is if they need large areas of land to put these in. So if you get multiple landowners together that can block them where they want them, and there's natural ways they want them along ridge lines and stuff like that, because that's where the winds tend to be the best. So if you can get the landowners to work together, even better if you're all under the same attorney, working with the same attorney, then you can probably get a better deal. If you're a small landowner, it's kind of a take it or leave it type of a contract, but you can take it or leave it. As of today, at least, there's no eminent domain for these wind turbines. So you don't have to worry about anyone forcing you to put it on there. That's funny. They can't put the wind turbines on you, but they can force you through eminent domain to put a little power line to carry the electricity from the wind turbine. So that's an interesting fact in kind of the way the law works out today. Again, all this is subject to change as the world around us changes. So so you get an attorney looking at it. The things you're worried about is protecting your land and from the future, because they'll have a contract for maybe 30 years with extensions and stuff in it, so it's a long-term deal. What happens to the land when they leave? You'll have damages for the surface they take away as they build roads, as they build power lines, as they build the pads for the turbines. So you'll have surface damages, and then you'll have royalties. They'll pay a certain amount, similar to an oil lease, as a lease bonus to lease your property. And then as they put up the turbines, they'll have a guarantees possibly in the minimum royalties you'll get. That can be negotiated. And then you'll have a percentage of whatever the royalties the turbines generate. And that's, generally the percentages vary. If they're able to put the bigger turbines in, they'll pay you a little bit higher percentages. They'll pay you higher minimums as well. So all those things, there's multiple things going in here that protecting your land in the future as they move off, the insurance requirements, make sure they're bonded, that they have all these things. And that's, again, why you need an attorney to help you through a lot of the details of this. So, but it can be, if they're coming in and putting turbines on a piece of property, it can be, hundreds of thousands of dollars and up in revenue. So it's something to consider very seriously. The place we have, as I was talking about, what your neighbors do and stuff like that, we have a place that we had turbines all around us. I mean, you look at any direction at night and see the red flashing lights and things like that. So we finally decided that, hey, if you can't beat them, join them, that we would be willing to trade off the revenue that we can get from it because we've already got them. I mean, the light pollution is there, everything else. They're going to be a little closer to us, but we were able to restrict how close the locations could be to our living, to the residences and stuff, and that helped a little bit because they do make a noise when they're going, kind of a humming, whining noise, which can be irritating over the long term. And there's questionable effects on wildlife and those kind of things that really we don't know the full answers to. So I mean, the wildlife do adapt to it fairly well, so you don't see a lot of behavioral changes. But there's studies on bird deaths and all these kind of things. So anyway, it's a complex issue. And so just be aware of that as you go into it. So I'd love to talk to you about it. If you're interested, you can give me a call and talk about it. I can point you to some attorneys, but ultimately it's going to be an attorney thing. And then there's still some things kind of developing in the law today about whether you can hold or win rights like you do mineral rights when you sell a piece of property. So that's a little bit gray. It looks like you probably can, but there's some gray areas in the law because there's just not the history of law that we have, where we've been producing oil and gas in Texas for almost 100 years. It's not quite the case with wind energy. So the case law is not as established. The boundaries aren't as clear. So anyway, another fascinating topic I love to talk about. And so if you don't have any questions, give me a call, Roy.RealEstate, 325-268-0775. Thank you.